Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And I'm grinning because I've just read this story and it is astonishing and funny. And it isn't really funny because for the people who live in Renfrewshire, it's going to be very, very expensive. The SNP, who we all know are morons. I say it in every video that I do that they're morons. I've yet ever to be proven wrong, to be shown that they are anything other than morons. They needed a new school, and so they built a new school. Isn't it marvellous? The SNP council that runs Renfrewshire has built this new school, and it's marvellous. There's one tiny problem with it. I mean, it is an otherwise excellent school. It's ultra modern. It looks fantastic. It has one tiny problem. And that tiny problem can be put right, but at a cost of £160 million, which, as it says in the piece, this isn't going to be like a breaker in there. It says it actually right at the beginning of the piece. That's as much as it cost for the funeral and laying in state of Her Majesty the Queen. So when the SNP all tell you, we want to be Republicans, all this money it's costing us to have a royal family, point out that yes, one school, to repair one school, cost as much as it did to bury and lay in state the Queen. And let's face it, firstly, when the royal family do stuff like this, one, it's brilliant and fantastic and everyone watches it. Two, it brings in absolute fortune of money, of people travelling in from all over the world to see this stuff. And thirdly, it works, unlike anything built by the SNP. And when you find out what's wrong with the school, you'll understand why you should never ever let the SNP get control or have political interference on any project whatsoever. Anything. You could go to the builders who would then say, yes, we can do that. We can do this for a price. We'll get hold of our architects. We'll get hold of our designers. And they come back with a proposal and say, here's this school. It's got this. It's got all the functionality you need. It's got this big hall. It's got that there. It's got everything you need. And this is the price. And they'll go away, go, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Little chat. They come back and say, yes, that's the price. And off they go and build it. And as long as the SNP don't get involved at any stage beyond that, you'll have a nice shiny school. And in 18 months' time, there'll be someone there from the council being handed the key to the new school. And it'll be lovely. But when you get the SNP involved in anything, the other thing happens. It falls apart, it breaks, it isn't right. This school is excellent. This school is truly excellent. It is a marvellous school. Apart from that one little problem. We'll have a look at this piece, and I think you too will laugh and wonder why the SNP are so damn stupid and why they get everything wrong. Everything. Every time. They get nothing right. It must be embarrassing to admit you vote for them. Because if you are an SNP voter, look at these people. Point to something that they've done that works. Because I've not found anything yet. And this... Here we go. So, Dargaville School blunder could cost taxpayers in Renfrewshire £160 million. And as I say, there's a picture of it. It's a very nice modern school. It looks good. It'll be an excellent school for young people going there, learning, expanding, making friends, building relationships as they enter slowly over years, enter into the adult world, go out, face the world with everything they need to go into the working world and succeed at whatever they choose to do. It's a marvellous, marvellous thing. Apart from that one tiny problem. Taxpayers in Renfrewshire have been left with a £160 million bill after a blunder by the SNP council left a school 1/3 of the size it was meant to be. Okay. 1/3. Not just a bit smaller. It was built 1/3 of the actual size. To fix the problem, councillors have agreed to prudential borrowing to be paid back at £4 million a year for the next 40 years. This prudential borrowing, is it literally a man who comes from the Prue and knocks on your door every Tuesday night and asks for a bit of cash and then marks you in his book? Because that's the only way the SNP are going to get this, isn't it? That means the costs will balloon to roughly the same amount as the UK and Scottish government spent on the funeral and lying in state of the late Queen. It is the latest development in the growing Dargaville primary scandal. Yesterday, First Minister Humza Yousaf was asked to help the council with the costs, but he warned that would mean needing to take money from other schools. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't done it though, because he's got to show that this one was fine. It's the best school in Scotland. It was built by the SNP, and all the other ones sitting there and they're scratching with their fingernails into slates. You know, I mean, honestly, you couldn't make this up. To build a school 1/3 of the size, because rather than get it right, you just interfered with it. And I've said before, project management. 30 years I worked with a house builder. Project management is not hard if you've got someone knowing what they're doing. And that's what they don't have. They don't have the ability. And the thing is, they're so stupid, they don't even realise that they don't have the ability. They don't know what they don't know because they're that stupid. They don't know to go and get expert advice. They don't know to go and pay money and get someone who's done this before to come and superintend a problem, and to hire a project manager, to hire a build manager, to hire site foremen, to hire, even things like reporting control. I've been on sites. We used to have a guy, I'm not going to give his name or anything, we used to have a guy, he did reporting control, which meant that every bit of paperwork that went through, and they don't just mean invoicing, obviously the accounts side I dealt and all that, but I mean the things like getting the safety certificates done, getting work completion certificates done, getting the when you have quantity surveying, all the quantity surveying would be signed off, everything. And it's an enormous amount of paperwork, and a lot of it is statutory returns. You've done this and this and this. You've got signed off for your electricity, you've got signed off for your water, you've got signed off for your sewage, very big one that. And you have all these things. You have the council planning phases that you have to go through. It's immense. We actually had a guy whose job was simply to collect all the paperwork, sort all the paperwork, make sure that those people who needed it had it. That was just one part of this job. We had designers, we had architects, we had civil engineers. This was a big scheme. And these people, the council, obviously haven't done that. They've just went, I don't know, should we build a Lego model of it, and then presented it to the builders who went, and there you go. Because you can guarantee that's the only way something like this happens. Anyway, we revealed in November that the brand new £18 million school building should have been able to accommodate 1,100 pupils, but due to an error by officials, it can only hold 430. Don't say an error by officials, say due to an error by the SNP, who is responsible for this, it can only hold 430. On the other hand, 430 children will get an excellent education because they've got all these people, all these teachers have been hired. They've hired. This is a joke. They've hired all the staff. They've hired all the ancillary staff. So you're going to have, I don't know, it might be 1-to-1 teaching the way it's going. Certainly 1-to-5, 1-to-6 teaching. You're going to have every pupil will have its own dining area. They'll probably have waiter service as that many bloody staff. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, the authority announced in February that they now expect 1,500 children to need to use the school by 2033. And as a result, they now need a new building with a capacity for 800 pupils. So here's the thing. They spent 18 million building it, and it's going to cost 160 million to fix the problem. That's 8 times the price to fix the problem. And this is why you never vote SNP. It's why you never let the SNP have control of any problem or any project. Because they're morons. They are utter morons. And I say it in virtually every video I do. I say how stupid these people are. I've yet to see evidence of them not being morons. Anyway, last week, in a paper sent to councillors, education chiefs at the Cash-strapped authority admitted that the cost of fixing the problem would be far more than previously thought. The cost of the new building will be somewhere between 42 and 45 million, while extending the local secondary school, Park Mains High School, to accommodate another 400 will be between 27 and 30 million. The local authority said they would likely need to take out a loan to pay for the cost, and they estimated this would leave the council with an annual repayment of £4 million. They say that the council will have an annual repayment of £400 million. Surely that should read, the taxpayers will have an annual repayment of £4 million. Guess which way your council tax is going? And it's going up to pay for the blunders of the morons you elected. So really, the people of Renfrewshire are actually getting their just desserts. They voted in an SNP council, and now they are paying for voting in an SNP council. So I do utterly have for the people. I do have sympathy. Even they did not expect the SNP to be this stupid. But you should never underestimate the stupidity of political parties. Anyway, the local authority said they would likely need to take out a loan to pay for the cost. They estimate this would leave the council with an annual repayment of $4 million, as we just covered. During yesterday's meeting of the council's Education and Children's Services Policy Board, Labour councillor Gillian Graham asked how long the borrowing would last. Alistair MacArthur, the Director of Finance and Resources at the council, told the meeting that the repayments would normally be spread out over the estimated life of the building, and generally wherever we're looking at a new build on the scale of a complete new school, we would normally look at costs over the full estimated life of that particular facility, which would normally be for around 40 years. For an extension to an existing building, that would be something less than that, perhaps 25 to 30 years. So the $4 million is my estimate at this point in time, based on those average lives for those new facilities. So £4 million a year over the next 40 years. There are children who are not yet born who will grow up, go to that school, leave that school, go and get a job, become parents themselves. Those children will then go to that school and they'll still be paying the bill for this mistake. Isn't that astounding? Isn't that the worst bit of mismanagement, stupidity, and absolute ineptitude you have heard in anything to do with the SNP until now? So far. And I'm going to put that in because wait for what's coming, hopefully in the next few days. It is astounding. But even to be fair, I say you shouldn't be surprised. But this is of a scale, even I was surprised. It takes a lot to surprise me now with the SNP, but even I was blown away with this. Anyway, as the borrowing costs would be written off over the estimated life of those facilities, so it is within that time period, those 40 years. There are fears that simply extending the existing secondary school will not be enough. And asked how much it would cost to build a brand new facility, officers told the councillors it would be another 70 to 75 million on top of this. Dargavel Primary is part of a privately funded Dargavel Village project, a multi-million pound development to build 4,000 new homes on the site of a former Royal Ordnance factory by 2034. As part of the agreement with the council, BAE Systems paid for the new school. I bet BAE Systems are not entirely happy, given that they've paid for that and now there's nothing for it because the councillors got involved and supplied these details, which were utterly madness. It's madness, isn't it? But anyway, because they have built the new school to the specifications supplied to them by the council, their obligations under what is known as the Section 75 agreement are now discharged. This means the authority is to pick up the cost for the new primary at least. However, Stephen Quinn, the council's Director of Children's Services, told the meeting that there was a clause in the Section 75 that the developer will pay the cost for up to 200 pupils at the secondary school. Speaking after the meeting, Councillor Graham said, "Let's be clear, this decision by the SNP administration will now cost the Renfrewshire taxpayers £160 million over the next 40 years. During the meeting, Ian Nicholson, the SNP council leader, hit out at the Labour politician because he doesn't like the truth coming out. He doesn't like being made to look a fool, although he does have a mirror in his house, so it must happen quite often. He said, I won't take any lectures from Labour about the financial burdens, he said. I think you should go and look at the PFI and ask how much every single year we pay private companies for these schools that you put into debt and put on the credit card. And he's quite right, I will grant that, because the PFI was another thing that was utterly stupid. And that was Gordon Brown trying to make his balance his books and try and get as much off the books as possible, and then failed because they still left with absolutely nothing left. But that's socialists for you. But to talk about things that happened 30 years ago, or 25 years ago at the very least, is a bit disingenuous considering that the SNP have been in charge now for 16 years. And so this is entirely down to them. You can't be blaming Labour for this. Anyway, Neil Bibby, the Labour MSP for West Scotland, said he raised the plight of the school during First Minister's questions and called on the Scottish Government to help the council foot the bill. Renfrewshire's Education Policy Board meets today to discuss school provisions for children in Dargavel, following the council's catastrophic school miscalculation, he said. The last time I raised the expected cost to fix the mess, it was 28 million. It is now an incredible 75 million. Parents are looking for the Scottish Government to help resolve this situation. It wasn't the Scottish Government that caused this. It was the SNP that caused this. You can't ask the people of Scotland to fix an SNP problem. You need to go to the SNP and say to the SNP, you caused this. Your hiring of idiots, your hiring of morons, your decisions did this. It should not be the taxpayers who are billed. It should be the people in the party. And then go around every member of the SNP and keep taking money off them until you got that 160 million. And that will make sure that it won't happen again. Anyway, I mean, what can you say? What can you possibly say that is good about this? Building a school for 1,100 people at the time, going to be needed to be, say, 1,300 in time to come, and you build it for 430 because you let the morons of the SNP get involved with planning and pushing it, and they had, and this is what we'll do here, and this is what we'll do there. And I mean, they're sitting there, they've got their Crayolas out, and they were doing, and we will have a sunny day, and maybe put, a chimney and some smoke coming out or something, because you can guarantee that's the level these guys are at. Not one of them is clever enough to read plans. And so they build a school a third of the size. What do you know? What do you know about these people? You know they're idiots. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. With everything that happens, and all these things, and this is just the latest in a long line of them, but this is a pretty bad one. But all these things happening, and people still vote for the SNP. It's one of those great mysteries of the universe, isn't it? Why? Why would you vote for people? Use your eyes. Why would you look, see these things, understand what's happening, see how terrible these people are, see how stupid these people are, see how inept these people are, see how much they are costing you, and yet come the next election you're going to go, yeah, and put the tick in the box? Why? I mean, it can't be that simple, can it? It can't be that SNP voters are, educationally subnormal. I mean, that's the easy answer. Can't be that, though, is it? It's not. You can't be that stupid. I don't think any human being can be so stupid as to vote SNP and yet have enough intelligence to know what the SNP are doing. It's amazing, isn't it? And they still get in. And if there's an election tomorrow, there'll be a lot of people, even in Renfrewshire, still voting for the SNP, even with this. It's unbelievable. I do pity for Scotland. It's a beautiful place. I love it. I've travelled across most of it. I've had some fun times, some fond memories, and I will have many more. But what the SNP are doing to this country is just awful. But they're only doing it because people keep voting them in. We need to start making it embarrassing for people to admit they vote SNP. Keep pointing out things like this and go, you voted for these clowns. You voted for people who did this. You must be mad. You must be absolutely mad if you're voting for this. And just make it embarrassing. The way that nobody's buying Bud Light now because of the embarrassment involved in buying Bud Light. Well, let's do the same for SNP and make it so embarrassing to admit that you voted for these clowns that maybe, just maybe, people will stop voting for these clowns. It's a plan, isn't it? Anyway, enough of this. I am done. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, always go to a bigger school, and goodbye.